You're watching Taste of Victory.
What's up, guys? We have a huge news day because a new ban list just dropped on us out of nowhere. This came out at 5 a.m. my time, so sorry for the delay getting this video up, but this is insane. It comes out November 11th for us here in North America, and then Japan will be getting it on December 1st. It's crazy because this is a very aggressive ban list towards Crossheart. Shoutmon Cross 4 is going to 1 and Sunrise Buster is going to 1. Which, considering this is coming out November 11th, is really crazy since those decks just dropped in North America. I am surprised at how fast they took that hit for North America instead of also giving it to us on December 1st like Japan is getting. But this is official, these are the dates. Bandai has tweeted this from both the Japanese and English account, and on the World at Digimon Card site, they do have their reasonings up on the website. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. So first up, we have Calling from Darkness. This card can delete a player's own Digimon and collect Digimon cards from a player's own trash for a low cost. As a result, it carries various endless loops and is supporting unintended playstyles. For this reason, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 copy per deck. So basically, Bandai doesn't want cards that enable loops to exist, at least not too efficiently. And I guess this is better than outright hitting Cerberus and Cerberusmon package, because that is very archetype specific instead of enabling generic loops that Calling from Darkness does. Also, this has an unintended consequence of easily letting you recycle Death X Mons over and over again since it's half purple. So I get it. Personally, I'm not too big of a fan of this hit because it doesn't do anything. If you look at most loop lists right now, and really for most of the time that this card was ran, they just run 1 copy. The few rare decks will run like 2 copies at max. You're never running 3 to 4 of this. So this hit, restricting it to only 1 copy is really negligible. I don't really think it's going to hurt too many decks that wanted to run it otherwise. But like, as a color as a whole, that does suck for purple. Also, yeah, it's responsible for some loop archetypes, but this hasn't done anything outright broken yet like Shoutmon Cross 4 does with its infinite loop. So I don't know. Purple as a color has not really been doing anything for so many sets that I think it's kind of, I get it. I'm just sad to see it hit when purple, again, has not been doing anything. So let it have some toys until it gets broken, you know? But I get it as well, you know, might as well preemptively hit something before it becomes a problem. So I'm indifferent to this since, again, most loops lists aren't going to change based off of this. You know, it's not the end of the world. Minerva loop is still here come November 11th. So that's an interesting hit. So then we have Sunrise Buster 2-1. So if you remember back on my first ban list predictions video for this season, I was saying to put this card to 1 because it just gives Crossheart so many answers and so many outs because its normal strategy wants to set up so many tamers anyways. So now this card is giving you the ability to expand your win con while also removing a gigantic threat quite easily, especially if this comes out of security. So this card was insane. I suggested hitting it to 1 or outright banning it before. So it looks like that is one of the hits that they have done, and that's really cool. I agree with the Sunrise hit for sure. Their reasoning is this card has a powerful DP reducing effect along with an effect that plays a tamer. Therefore, the output of this card's effect is greater than intended in some decks. For this reason, we restricted this card to 1 copy per deck. I agree with this for sure. This card is only 5 cost and can easily delete a level 6 while also getting you a free tamer that still does its on-play effect. This card is ridiculous for 5 cost. It should have been way more since the beginning. I understand that it's dual color, so I guess the idea was to balance it that way, but you have cards like Tai and Kari that easily meet the color condition, so it was really negligible and didn't matter most of the time. And besides, most decks that are going to be running this easily have a yellow and a red tamer separately in there. You're likely going to have them out at the same time, or they're just going to have their egg make up the other color requirement. So that was really no problem at all meeting that condition. For only 5, it did too much, and I'm actually really glad to see this go to 1 to make decks that run it as removal a lot more manageable, because it's way too strong of a removal for its cost. Then for whatever reason, the card isn't loading here because I think a lot of people are trying to see the ban list right now at the same time, so I'm having a hard time accessing the site. But we have, this is Doru Greymon. As a Digimon card with X antibody in its traits, multiple copies can easily be placed at the bottom of the Digivolution card of a Digimon by other card effects to gain security attack +1. Furthermore, when Digivolving, it has a powerful defensive effect that prevents other effects from deleting it or reducing its DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. To adjust the game balance, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 copy per deck. And I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, if we're looking at the early results of BT10, Alphamon is still very much one of the best decks in the entire game, tier 1 contender. So I don't necessarily think that makes you have to address it immediately. But it is really annoying to play against that deck with how much it manipulates and gets around the memory system. And then, like, it's so powerful, you could just lose it 1 turn out of nowhere from 1 memory because they'll just gain up to 5, no problem. It is quite the powerful deck. I don't know if you need to be this aggressive with it. You maybe could have hit it to 2. This definitely really reduces the power level of the deck. I still think Alphamon is good, but people aren't going to want to run it at this because now you do struggle with closing out the game effectively. So I do think this puts it into a more balanced play level, but I think you could have waited to hit this. I mean, they already gave us so much time with Alphamon, more than we were supposed to have, because we had the card longer than Japan has had it now, but I think you could have maybe waited till December 1st for this list. I think you could have put this to 2 and it still would have been fair. But this way, now you have to make it count, and it is what it is. And then finally, we have Shoutmon Cross 4. Due to its effect that allows the reuse of cards required for end of attack Digicross, this card can be used for a string of repeated attacks at a low cost, just by having multiple copies in a player's hand. Its on-play effect also gives it a stronger than intended advantage to cross-art decks by increasing the number of cards in a player's hand. To adjust the game balance, we've restricted this card to 1 copy per deck. So this effectively kills Crossheart. Like, yeah, you have X5 and you can move to a more X5 package, and maybe in the future, once we get X7, depending on how BT11 results are looking, Crossheart will even go into that more, because I think this is also a part of that. It did not need any of the new support it got in BT11 onwards, because like you're just gonna run this loop package every single time because it's so easy and efficient to set up and effective. So this also lets Crossheart players experiment more with their deck building and get a little bit more creative, forces them to, and it brings the power level of the deck way in line, so much more fair, because this deck was like indisputably, if not tied with Metal Garurumon X for best deck in format, the best deck in format, you know. In Japan, this thing was a monster running amok and absolutely destroying their scene, so I'm surprised it took them so long to hit it in Japan. Like back then, all they did was put Alphamon, Storu, Greymon to 1, which is, I know Japanese and Singapore players were discussing like their general vibe online was that they were confused by that list, so it makes sense to hit it now, because yeah, this deck is just way too strong. I think the timing of it in North America could have been a little bit better, but it is what it is, because this deck is annoying and people were going to hate playing into it anyways, and now it's a lot more fair. I think Metal Garurumon X probably becomes your new best deck in format now, but we also have to wait and see what creeps up with Shoutmon gone. And that's the list for now. This is just the old cards from before, and this is everything that we have now, and this list is effective November 11th for us. So this is pretty cool. I think ultimately Calling from Darkness doesn't do much to purple at all, and it's generally unaffected, but it just kind of hurts for any decks that may have wanted it more in the future. But it's better to prevent loop, you know, but I get it. It's better to be preventive with loop strategies. We have Sunrise Buster to 1, which I really agree with and I really like, so that's awesome to see that on an unbalanced removal get yeeted. We have Doru Greymon to 1, which I get it. I don't think Alphamon needs to be hit that hard, especially because like I think it's good for old decks to still be viable in the format, so players can keep playing and not feel like crept out of the game. You know, they need old decks to be relevant to stay in. Not everyone can keep getting new decks every format, but it is an absolutely insane deck, so I get it. I just think it could have been hit a little bit less hard. And then we have Shoutmon X4, which I'm surprised to see it hit so fast in North America. It's crazy because I think this list is dropping, what, a week after the set came out in North America? That's insane. That's insane to me, but like, we've all wanted this hit forever. Japan, Singapore, you know, all those countries have wanted this hit forever. So I think this is great. I think you did the right thing to just stop the problem outright, especially since it looks like Bandai intends to keep giving this deck so much support for whatever reason after it was already so strong out the gate. So now you could definitely do that without worrying about it, since its main way to kill you is now gone, or at least 2-1, so they have to work for it. So that's gonna be the video. Let me know what you guys think of the list in the comments below. Personally, I'm pretty satisfied with it. There's some head scratches on here for sure, but it could have been a lot worse, and I'm glad to see Shoutmon finally reined in. I'll see you guys in the next video, and until then, remember to stay hungry until you get a taste of victory.